It's official. We are live. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning from me to everyone that will be joining us today, whether you're watching this live. Welcome. My name is Y. Welcome to what is the interlude session of the Stories of Everyday Women series. Now, I know that I am speaking to some of you for the first time, so I'm going to introduce myself. But I do want to acknowledge that I have a lovely lady sitting virtually with me today. Let me give you a little bit of, an insight into firstly who I am. My name is YTLL, and I am the founder of the Y Project. I am a transformation leader, facilitator. I work specifically with women, and I help them shift and get unstuck and find purpose. Now, Stories of Everyday Women, for anyone who is meeting us for the first time, it was actually created for two reasons. First and foremost, to offer someone on a day where they might need it, insight into someone else's story. And if they can take one thing that helps them shift through an uncomfortable period in their life, then I have served my purpose. But it was also created to cheerlead, as I say, the champions. And I have a champion sitting with me today, and I'm so excited for so many different reasons. And in just a moment, I'm actually going to ask this lovely lady, whose name is Catherine, to introduce herself to us. But before I progress a little further, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land in which I am seated on here in Kew, the Wurundjeri tribe. Pay my respects to all elders of the Kulin Nation, both past, present, and just as importantly, the emerging leaders of tomorrow. Now, without any further ado, Catherine, my dear, thank you so much, firstly, for sharing your space with me, for joining me virtually this morning, and joining me at the 11th hour. I really, really do appreciate you, and I'm really looking forward to this talk. May you introduce yourself to us?
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I'm Catherine Lyell. I'm from Integrated Men's Health in Melbourne. I'm actually in Carrum, but we say Melbourne, so because I've got a lot of global followers and global clients who don't know where Carrum is. So thank you for having me on today. I'm a men's health and porn addiction specialist. That's my umbrella title. I'm a practitioner and an author, kinesiologist, massage therapist, psycho-spiritual therapist. I'm a transformational coach. I teach my methods as well. I'm a trainer, and I've got an amazing book coming out soon, which I'm going to tell all the women about today, because today is a big deal for me. Because up until this point, so I've been doing this 7 years full-time or 8 years full-time with the men, and it's time now to take this information to the women. So I'm really, really excited to be here today, because we are streaming to about 20,000 women, I believe. It's huge, and it's really important that women understand this information. So I just wanted to just give you a trigger warning as well, because this information is new to a lot of people, and it's a very sensitive topic. It's sensitive for a lot of reasons, because there's a lot of trauma involved in porn addiction and partners of porn addiction, as well as sex addiction and sexual health issues, as well as sexual abuse as children. So I just wanted to put that out there today, because the women, it's news to the women. The men have kind of been knowing this for a few years. They've been doing the work on themselves. But the women, this is a little bit of a shock. But the reason I'm doing this today and why I'm taking this to the women now is because it's vital information. The women need to stop blaming themselves. The women need to understand their men sexually. And my goal, my legacy is to open up the lines of communication around sexuality for men and women and couples, and then passing that really important information on down to the kids. So there's a trigger warning, and that's my intention today. If you've got any questions, please put them in the comments. We've got someone moderating some of the comments in some of the groups, so we will get back to you. We may have to do another interview, but I will be looking at this this later once I'm off air, and we will answer the questions for you. We also have a couple of giveaways today for the viewers, and one of them is my ebook on porn addiction, which the women absolutely need to read. Just because you don't have a penis doesn't mean you need to know this stuff. If anything, it's more important for the women to understand, because they're the ones holding the families together. So you'll get that today. Why we'll give you the links for those. And also I have a guide for for men to tell their women they have a porn addiction, and how to actually go through that, in-depth conversation with love and compassion. And I'm giving that out to the women today because it's really important that the women understand how to talk about this as well. So anyway, a bit about me. Okay, so I've come from a corporate background, and I just wanted to make a big shout out to the mums today that are all watching in the mums group. There's about 10,000 of them. Big shout out to the mums, and also to the women who are doing it tough. I have come from a domestic violence background, and due to legal reasons, I can't discuss it online. But I can mention that I have been there. So you might see, a professional, confident, put together woman, but you've got to understand that there's a journey that's got me to this point. And that's what I really wanted to share with everyone today. We're going to get into the nitty gritty porn addiction stuff in a second, but I'll just go through. So I've come from a corporate background of 20 years, which nearly killed my soul, to be honest. And I started studying when I was married. I started studying kinesiology, and I'm a natural born healer, and I just had to work out how to use those gifts and the energy stuff that I can do, that makes me a little bit of a freak, but I needed to channel that psychic energy and all these feelings and abilities that I had. I could go to a wedding, someone would have a headache, and I might just put my hands on their head and bang, the headache's gone, sore back's gone. So I knew I had to get my hands on people, but I just didn't know how. So, and not in a creepy way either. So I was married in 2005, and I had my daughter 3 years later. She's now 13, going on 14 this month. And I've been single ever since. I left when she was 9 months old. I had to run. I had to get away quickly. And I was with this man for 6 years, and it was 6 years too long. So I had a little witness there. And when she was 6 months old, I gave him an ultimatum. And then at 9 months, I ran with 13 cents in my bank account. And it's been a journey ever since. When you don't have that support around you or the money in your bank account, and you hit rock bottom like that, but you've got a child to look after, you have a witness there who is going to model their behavior on yours. And this is why I do what I do today. I treat couples and I help people get out of relationships, and I help people in DV as well on the side, not through my integrated men's health business. So anyway, so I started studying then. I tried to work in a clinic after my daughter was born, but it didn't work out because I had no business experience whatsoever, none. They don't teach you that when they teach you how to do these modalities. And so I went back into corporate and I ended up in a hardware industry. Of all the industries, I'm in working with, 50 plus men with beer guts and old fashioned mentalities. And it was quite full on for me. I got abused. I had to join the union. I was sexually harassed, and that's happened in a lot of jobs that I've been in. But it paid the bills, and I was stuck in that mentality of, going to work to pay the bills, and then, having this passion on the side of healing people, but just not understanding how I can actually go from one life into the other one when I knew this was the intuitive path that I needed to be on. So I did a lot of self-development work, spent tens of thousands of dollars in 2013. And I did a Lomi Lomi course, which is massage, Hawaiian massage. And that was the game changer. Not only did I meet the most amazing Hawaiian elder who gave me unconditional love for the first time in my life, I was gifted this technique that changed the game, because no one knew what kinesiology was, and I didn't have the marketing skills to, and it's still tricky to get people in to do kinesiology. But massage, everyone wants a massage. And what happened was the magic was that all my other modalities, the Chiron healing, the intuitive healing, the integrated healing, the kinesiology, everything came in as I was doing this massage. So it became what I now call integrated massage therapy, and it's literally the cure for porn addiction. But we'll go into that a bit later. So anyway, so that's what I've done. And I opened a clinic. I quit my corporate job in 2014. That was the best day of my life, apart from my daughter's birth. And anyone that's in corporate will totally, understand that. So a year later, I opened a men's health clinic. It's the only one in Australia that was working with alternative health therapies just for men. And I had trouble recruiting practitioners. I went through about 10 practitioners and none of them had business experience. So I started mentoring them. We had business meetings. I was teaching them social media and all the like, but they just couldn't get the clients in, or they just last a week and then leave. And it was really taxing on my health. And I realized that I was doing this for them, to provide a space for them to practice and for my clients to actually heal. And I got lost in that process. And so I packed up the clinic, packed up my house, and I moved into a 6-bedroom house and converted it into a clinic at the front. And I lived in the back with my daughter, and it was just the best decision I ever made, because I could control the energy. I could control clearing all of the stuff that was being brought in by the clients. And I felt safe. So it was really important. So anyway, I met a porn addiction specialist in 2016 who wanted to come and work in my clinic. And I knew something was going on with the men, but I didn't understand what the cause was. There was 100% mental health issues, almost 100% sexual health issues. And I just couldn't put my finger on it. And because I didn't know anything about porn or porn addiction at that stage. So he came in, he sat there and cried in an interview. And I thought that was really strange, because I was telling him about the work that I was doing and he started to cry. He had a porn addiction, and that's why he was doing it as a psychotherapist. And I thought there's something going on here. So he didn't actually come and work for me at all. But I changed my form, and I put a tick box on my form that said, "Do you watch porn?" And 100% of men ticked the box. And I knew that this was what was going on. All right. So fast forward, a few years later now, 8 years later, I've done my own research. I've had a survey running for men since 2018. I've got 3 books. I've got another one coming out. This is the big one that'll be published in paperback. And this one is the tell-all. The other ones were a technical, I'm afraid of the public type books. And this is me stepping into my own now and owning that queen energy of holding space for people around this, instead of feeling like a victim of being attacked all the time. So here I am today to speak to you guys about porn addiction, what it is, how it's treated, and how the women can actually handle this at a level that is compassionate and full of love and understanding for the men. So obviously I'm a woman. I treat men. I have compassion for the men. I heal the men, but I also understand the female side of it. And that's why my book is really important, because I'm coming from a female perspective, because the male coaches out there are just coaches. Not that there's anything wrong with being a coach, but they're not practitioners. So they don't work with the body. They work with the brain and the cerebral thoughts. And most of them have had porn addiction, so they get it. I haven't had a porn addiction. I did date someone at the same time that this epiphany appeared, and he had erectile dysfunction. He had anger issues. He had mental health issues. And he was discussing it openly with me, that he had a severe porn addiction. And I was like, I call him the porn angel, because he came in at the same time as the guy that was a specialist, and it all just unraveled from there. And now I'm the only one in the world doing this the way I'm doing it, in terms of working with the body, activating Kundalini, curing porn addiction on a cellular level. So thank you for having me.
I'm listening to you, and there's just so much entwined in that story and in what you've shared with us. And I don't want any of it to be lost, firstly. So I just want to acknowledge, as I'm hearing you, I'm actually going through, some states of emotion listening to that. And I'm listening to it from the perspective of is that we can kind of rush through these highlight reels, but it's really the journey and the pain that we go through and the trauma that we experience along the way that enable us to stand here and speak candidly and openly. So I I just wanted to both support that and to acknowledge that. But listen, the underlying question throughout all of that is, I actually have no idea really what porn addiction is. Would you mind sharing that with us today?
Sure. It's a bit of a long answer, so you're just going to have to hang in there. And if you've got a notepad, start taking notes, people, because but you'll get my ebook, so you'll get some information, because this can just go over people's heads. It can be a lot of information to take in, because I'm going to go into my science practitioner side of things now and explain to you how the brain works. I never come at this from a perspective of moral capacity, because I can't. Because I'm a woman, I'll just get shot down. I already get shot down because I don't have a penis. But if I start talking about the moral side of things, in terms of porn addiction and what it does to relationships and what it does to, women, then I don't, I don't get acknowledged, and there's no credibility for me there. So today I'm going to come from a science perspective so that you understand how the brain and the penis work. And it's really important that women understand male sexual health as much as men understand it. And even when I get torn down, I say to men, how many men do you treat? Nobody. How many men do you know? How many penises have you seen? How many people do you work with around sexual health? And they say, well, it's just me. I'm like, you're just one penis. I've worked out around 25,000 men in the last 7 years. So it's a lot, and I've treated thousands and thousands, and I've got men that fly in from interstate and overseas to do this treatment. So I just want to acknowledge the men right here and now for stepping up and doing the work. We have this belief in society that says men don't ask for help. It's a load of shit. They absolutely do. You just have to build something that they are attracted to. So a therapy or a emotion or an idea that supports them and gives them creativity and holds space for them, just like the feminine can, right? So it's really, really important that we acknowledge the men, and this is where the compassion needs to come in, because a porn addiction is a brain addiction. It's not a sex addiction, okay? So it's a neural addiction that forms when they are young. So as soon as you start watching porn, your brain becomes addicted to the chemicals and hormones being produced in the body from the excitement and the rush of watching porn, but also coupling it with masturbation, okay? So if you spent your whole life watching porn and no masturbation whatsoever, you would never have the same level of porn addiction that someone does that masturbates with porn. And obviously that's the go-to. There's not many people that watch porn and don't masturbate. But what happens in the brain when you are, let's say, 15, and especially now because the kids have got the smartphones in their back pocket, so they've got access to porn 24/7. The older guys, it started with magazines, and it wasn't so frequent in the years where their brain was still developing. Okay, so all the mums out there who have young kids, it is never too young to start talking to your kids about their bodies, bodily functions, sexual functions, all of that stuff, consent, boundaries. Okay, because I treat men that have seen porn since they were 5 years old. 8 to 11 is the most common age for men to see porn for the first time, especially now. But the average age of when guys are starting to get addicted is around the time when they're watching it frequently, okay? So it's not the one time that you saw it at your mate's house or the, whatever. It's when you start watching the visual stuff, which is, could be when the internet came about in 1991 for the guys who are in their 40s and 50s, let's say, right? So as soon as you start watching porn regularly, I'm going to compare it to drug addiction because it's exactly the same as a drug addiction. So if you start to, if you're enabling porn in your relationship because you feel like you're insecure or needy, if you say something, you have to understand that this is exactly the same as a drug addiction. So that's how we switch the mindset of both the guys and the women. Would you allow ice into your relationship? Would you allow cocaine? Would you allow heroin into your relationship day on day on day? because that's exactly what it's doing, the same effects on the brain as a drug addiction, okay? So the three main chemicals that are being produced when you watch porn are called oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine. Dopamine is what we call the novelty drug. I like what I see and I want to see more of it. And dopamine is the addictive hormone, okay? We all know about dopamine on our phones. We're addicted to our phones and we go round and round and round and round and clearing all the little red numbers. Someone loves us. It's a dopamine hit. It's only slight, but it's still there. So that's dopamine. Then you've got serotonin. Serotonin is the happy hormone. So anyone I've discovered that has ADHD, autism, depression or anxiety will masturbate and watch porn generally more than other men that don't have these symptoms, okay? But then again, porn actually causes these symptoms as well. Because the reason is they're going into what we call tunnel vision. So they get to feel happy because of the serotonin, and they're horny and their body's breaking out in, goosebumps, and their hair's sticking up on the back of their neck, and, they've got super hard erections, and this is like way back, right? So this crazy chemical reaction is happening in the body, and they're getting tunnel vision. Tunnel vision means, and that's caused by the opiates or the endorphins as well. And the tunnel vision refers to, I don't know, you hear your mum coming down the hallway, or she's opening the car door and she's home. You keep masturbating and you finish because you get stuck in this tunnel, right? It's like you can't actually logically just step out of that and say, oh, my mum's home, I'm just going to stop masturbating, right? So tunnel vision is what depression, anxiety, and ADHD and autism, they get stuck in these tunnels for hours in a day watching porn and masturbating, because they can't actually get out. Because if they get out and they ejaculate, which they do eventually, the endorphins and everything are released, and they actually feel worse than when they first started. It's an empty feeling, okay? So everyone likes to stay in the tunnel. So that's serotonin. Then you've got oxytocin, which is my biggest concern for women and for relationships, because oxytocin is the bonding hormone. The bonding hormone is produced in really high levels when women first give birth, and it's to bond with the baby, and it's to take away all the lovely memories of giving birth to a watermelon 5 minutes and go and splitting you in half, okay? And it's what gives you the desire and the connection with the child, and then to have another child. It's that clucky kind of feeling, right? Oxytocin. Oxytocin is also produced when we make love. And so we're all lusted up and dating for the first time, or dating, someone new for the first time. It's all oxytocin. It's just, everyone's off their faces on oxytocin. But the problem is with oxytocin is that it's the bonding hormone, which means you're bonding to what you're seeing. It might not be the actress from, the DVD back in 1993, because guys aren't watching DVDs anymore, and they're not watching the same video more than once, because they're fast forwarding to find the next stimulation and the next stimulation. So they're bonding to the acts of what they're seeing, right? Now, you've also got the subconscious mind. There's the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind thinks if you're having a chemical reaction in the body, which is what porn is causing, just like if you watched a movie and you started to cry, the subconscious mind thinks it's happening to you, okay? Just like if I sat here and talked about a lemon, and I talked about a juicy lemon and a bitter lemon, and I talked about it in detail, and I started to cut it up, and I'm like, I'm going to put this near my mouth. I start to salivate every time I tell that story, and people that I tell, they're like, oh my God, my gland's going off, right? That's the subconscious mind thinking that it's actually happening to you, and therefore having a chemical reaction. Okay, so if the men just want to think about for a second, and the women, all of the porn acts that they've seen online, your brain thinks it's happened to you, right? And this is where men start to pull away from relationships. They start to withdraw from sex and sexual, intimacy, and connection. And also in the act, they start to withdraw. They're not present. They're just in their porn brain as they're making love. They're going from position to position. They're touching themselves. They're rolling you over. It's all sexual. There's no like sensuality. There's no connection or energy exchange happening there. So that's my worry with oxytocin, is because it's the bonding hormone. And all the men who watch porn, their biggest feedback is sex is boring. Okay, because they don't get that same chemical reaction from sex. They will never say, some of them do, but they often won't say that porn is better than watching sex, because I have asked them that in a survey. But I hear them. What they're saying and what they think they should be saying are two different things. They want their partners. They love their partners. They love their children. They love their family unit. But they can't show up sexually because the connection is gone, right? So that's the chemical reaction that's happening in the body every time you watch porn, right? You're masturbating, fireworks is going off in the brain because you're attaching pleasure to those neural pathways of excitement and chemical pleasure. The neurotransmitters are going off their head, the dopamine's going off its head, and then what happens is if you watch porn every single day for a week, you are addicted because the brain is trying to change itself. We're not used to producing that level of excitement every day. Just like if you took cocaine every day, your body, you're not going to die from it, but you're going to have this situation in the brain where it has to change itself to accommodate for all these extra chemicals and hormones. And if you do that every single day, you've got this brain changing itself and it's upping the ante on what it's expecting. So what used to get you off doesn't get you off anymore. So you need more chemicals and more stimulation, and fast forwarding through this video. And then all of a sudden people are down the rabbit hole for hours on end looking at gay porn, trans porn, and things that they're ashamed of because, and that's just we'll just put a disclaimer there that I'm not against, any of that stuff. But these men they don't prefer that in their lives, but they're ending up in public toilets being ashamed and humiliated by men who they're meeting on Grindr. They're not even gay or bi, but this is where they've ended up. They can't get off. They can't come, they say to me. The only way I can come is if I go meet some dude in a public toilet and he, humiliates me, and then I can get off. I can't get off unless I'm on all fours and someone's fisting me. Like all of this stuff, right, is what I hear every day. And it's quite harsh. I know it's confronting for people to hear, but this is why I'm not carrying this burden anymore. This is why I'm taking it to the world and in my book, because it's hard hearing this stuff all the time as a woman and as a professional. So anyway, so your brain is changing, right? The other thing that's happening is you're getting a hit crash effect, right? So just like a drug addiction, you're getting this beefed up, chemical stimulus, and then what goes up must come down, absolutely, every time. And the release of those chemicals and hormones is what gives the guys that what we call an ejaculation hangover. So they're tired, they roll over and go to sleep, or they can concentrate at work again. It's because they've had a crash of that tunnel vision and the chemicals and hormones. But what happens is when those chemicals crash, there's a hormone called prolactin that goes up in the body, and prolactin causes erectile dysfunction. So every time you have your party on the chemicals, you're causing erectile dysfunction. The other thing with erectile dysfunction, and it is in over 96% of the men that I see, and it's a lot of the guys don't even know they've got it because they're watching porn every single time they masturbate. And they don't know how to masturbate without it. And when I get them to masturbate without it, they actually can't get erect. Okay, that's what we classify as erectile dysfunction. When you don't get erections naturally, so in the morning, on the train, talking to your partner, being stimulated organically, then that's how we define erectile dysfunction. If that's not happening without you touching it and without you watching porn, then you have erectile dysfunction. I also categorize premature ejaculation and difficulty having orgasm under that umbrella as well. So it is like 98% of guys that I see, and all of them, it's caused by porn addiction. Okay. Anyway, so that's what's happening with the brain. Then you've got the release, the ejaculation. We have chi in our body. Chi is the life force energy that was there at conception, and it runs our body on a quantum physics energy level. We're all made up of energy. Now, this isn't from the woo-woo, spiritual side of things, and people need to start to understand how important chi and energy is. We also refer to Kundalini energy, pranic energy, life force energy, Jing. It has all different names, but it's the same thing. And when you ejaculate, you release that chi. So you lose your chi every time you lose bodily fluids, okay? So that chi is what gives you sexual energy. Sexual energy, I don't talk in terms of libido or sex drive because it's a load of shit. Because men say, I've got a really high sex drive. No, you have a porn addiction. This is your sex drive, right? This is where men are getting cravings and impulses, and it's to watch porn, it's to masturbate, it's to have sex, but it's being run. This is running the show. This is not your sexual energy. This is your brain, right? Your limbic system is your sexual energy, your arousal system, your kundalini energy that runs up your spine, the tingles, the smells, the memories of the music going out in the city on a Friday night at 5 o'clock in summer, where the whole city is pumping back in the day. That doesn't happen anymore because of porn addiction. So that's your organic sexual energy. So you're losing that. So you're losing sexual energy every time you do this hit, crash. So men that watch porn have very, very low sexual energy. And I talk in terms of vibrational frequency, okay? So when I put my hands on someone, my body moves from vibrational frequency. And I can show them while they're still sitting in the chair over there, this is your vibrational frequency. I'm going to tune into your energy right now. And my body just goes like this, just slightly moves, or not at all, just kind of goes like this. It's like a flat line of sexual energy. And then I show them my energy, my vibrational frequency, and I call that in and I give them a demo, and I'm like doubled over and I'm like going off in like a frog in a sock. And they're like, shit. And I'm like, that's what porn addiction is doing. Now, the other thing you're losing when you ejaculate is vital nutrients and minerals which protect the prostate. Okay, there's a whole chapter in my book, in my new book, on prostate cancer and porn addiction being linked up, because you're losing testosterone you're losing zinc every time you ejaculate. You lose half your daily zinc. We don't get zinc we don't produce zinc naturally in the body. Men have to eat it or take it as a supplement, and they're not, because we're not getting the supplementary foundations that we need from our food anymore. No one's eating like we used to, and the food isn't the same quality. So they're losing half their daily zinc. The zinc is responsible for producing testosterone. It's the man supplement, right? If you don't have enough zinc in your body, you have a zinc deficiency. If you have a zinc deficiency, you are tired, you're not producing testosterone, your fertility will be shit, you'll have acne, you'll be losing your hair. All of these things are happening because of the lack of zinc. But when zinc goes down in the body, copper goes up. So not only do you have a zinc deficiency, you have a copper toxicity, and everyone wants to Google that right now, and you'll see the definition of a porn addict right there. So that's what's happening there. You're losing your sexual energy, you're losing your chi, or you're losing your nutrients and minerals every time you ejaculate. You've got a brain addiction, and basically, in a nutshell, that's what porn addiction is. So everyone's on a cycle. So they start off once a week, once a month, and then it's once every couple of days. Now, the other thing that everyone needs to know on this call is that the definition of porn addiction, in terms of how regular it is, it's once a month or more. And this is what everyone just goes, you're full of shit. Once a month or more is defined as a porn addiction, because especially if you're only masturbating that one time. If you're only ever masturbating and watching porn together, it doesn't matter how frequently it is, you have a porn addiction. Okay, I've got a 71-year-old that came and saw me, and he's like, I'm just doing it once a month. And he was stamping his feet on the ground. I do not have a porn addiction. And I said to him, how old were you when you first started watching porn? He had been watching porn for 55 years, and he's never masturbated without it. So he has a porn addiction. Okay, so there's a scale. I've got a 16-year-old when he was 16, he's now 18, in America, who contacted me, and he was watching it 36 times a day, every day, over 30 times a day, every day. He's very unhealthy, and he has massive medical issues from doing that. And he's stuck. So the kids are coming through impotent, with high performance anxiety, struggling in school, mental health, and they haven't even kissed a girl, let alone had sex. That's what we're seeing in the 13 to 17-year-olds now. The other thing, the important thing, is porn addiction gives you brain damage, and everyone hates that word because they associate retardation and disabled people with brain damage. But it gives you 100% of the time, it gives you brain damage. Okay, so it affects the frontal lobe. The frontal lobe is the part of the brain that we call the control center for the personality. So a lot of men will have a lot of shame around this porn addiction. No one tells anyone. So if you think you know, you don't know. You absolutely do not know. You might know that your partner watches porn, but you will absolutely not know the frequency, what he's watching, and where he's been before he met you in terms of this addiction. Okay, the frontal lobe is where we identify our personality with. So these men feel like they are shit human beings because of it, and that's why they don't get help, because they can't face that part of it. And they would be right. There's no judgment on them being shit human beings, but it's the part of the it's the personality part of the brain. So it becomes ingrained in who they are. So memory, focus, concentration, decision-making, emotional expression. So men that say they can't express themselves and that society says that men can't talk about their stuff, well, guess what? It's from porn addiction, because it affects that part of the brain. They have no sympathy, empathy, or very little, and they can't actually express emotions. And that's because they've got frontal lobe damage. Okay, it's where the anxiety comes from. It's where depression comes from. It's where they can't focus and concentrate. And it just gets worse and worse and worse. And I know men they're in their 70s, they're masturbating for hours on end with no erection. They haven't had an erection for 20 years. So there's a lot of damage there. And this is where I'm coming from. You girls need to know that it's not your fault that he can't get an erection. It's not your fault that he can't maintain an erection. It actually has nothing to do with you. It's porn addiction, and it's in over 97% of men. That's what we've done. We've done the surveys. 97% of men are watching porn. That's what came back. And that's internationally, that data. And that's across LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. It's all ages. And that's what came back. 97% of men are watching porn. And I've never, ever met a man ever that has told their partner or their mates what that they have a porn addiction. Never. And I've asked every single one of my clients. So you need to be aware. This isn't your fault.
Absolutely.
Sure.
There's a question there which I'll bring up. I feel as though you've answered that, but I want it acknowledged. And then I would like to explore, because I think it's important for women to hear that there are men out there who are seeking help. And I'd love to kind of understand a little bit about that. But before we go there, the question that's been asked is, what about when they're watching really violent porn?
Okay, so we in the when I say I'm very intuitive, and I get channeled a lot of information about this, and then I go and research it. I already do the thing, and then I find out what I'm doing, because it's already been given to me as information. So the content is irrelevant.
Okay.
We all know that violent porn is a lot worse than non-violent porn. In terms of the damage it does to yourself, to your relationship, to the way that you view women. So the moral side of things is absolutely all over that. We've got sex trafficking, you've got violence of women. It is a known fact. So porn addiction has been declared a global health crisis by GPs and cops. Right? It's not just people like me. And it's because it's the main cause of domestic violence and sexual assault, rape, pedophilia, all the things, right? So I don't cover content with my clients because it's actually irrelevant, because I don't want to hear it, for starters. And if someone starts to go into the fact that they watch child porn, I actually ask them to leave. It's in my document to if they discuss that with me, that they need to leave. Because content is irrelevant, because ethical porn can give you a porn addiction exactly the same as violent porn, because most people start off with the vanilla porn and end up down the rabbit hole. The other thing is chemicals in the brain. So whatever you're getting off on, it can be ethical porn with your partner, but it's made by women, that it's all sensual and whatever, but it's visual and you're getting off on it. There's a reason why you're watching it. So the biggest danger in relationships is when people think they need to spice up their sex life and they go and get a threesome or an escort, or they involve something external like porn into their relationship. It is the worst thing you can do because you're going to create an addiction. And I know couples that are addicted to porn. So it's always get out the laptop, get out the whatever. That's their part of their foreplay, is they actually watch this thing. But what they don't realize is their brain is having these chemical reactions and they're addicted to ethical porn.
Wow. No, thank you for clarifying that. I thought it was important that we hear that it's actually not specifically about the content. It's, yeah. So talk to us about this. You know, you've seen 25,000 men. The fact that, you know, these guys are speaking, well, sharing openly, firstly, but, you know, sharing their story, you know, ticking the box about pornography. They obviously want help. What does that look like for some? Like, yeah.
Okay, so I have developed a system, a complex healing system called integrated massage therapy that is a combination of kinesiology, lomi based massage, meridian work. So it'll feel like I'm massaging someone's leg, and I am, because I'm doing those massage below me, but I'm actually I've integrated a whole lot of meridian work. So I'm working with their gallbladder, which carries all frustration and male frustration. I'm working with, you know, the prostate on the outside, holding the energy there and running the energy up from the base chakras and the prostate up through the top of the head, because the resentment sits in the prostate. You've got all the guilt and shame that sits in their groin. In their sacral chakra, which is just below the belly button. The trauma and stress sits in their groin. You've got relationships in their hips. And the bladder carries anxiety. The liver is about anger and resentment. So when I'm massaging people, I'm talking to their body and picking up on vibrational frequencies, using the muscle testing from kinesiology, and to run the lines of energy to clear out the body on a cellular level. Because if I could just lobotomize the men before they came in and just spoke to their body, it would just be absolute magic. But everyone gets in their head and they want to control everything, and they're so used to working with a woman who's naked, or they want to be visual, so they have to cover their eyes. They're not allowed to touch me. I'm fully clothed, and I hold space for that to happen, where I activate their kundalini. Now, it's very technical. Kundalini is like two snakes coiled up at the base of your spine, and from conception, and it's your natural sexual energy. So if you're talking to someone or you're meeting someone and you're like talking, and not sex talking necessarily, but that's that organic sexual energy that starts to run up the spine, up through the chakra system, up to the back and the neck and the head. It's organic. It's based on the limbic system, which is the arousal of all the senses. That's your natural core sexual energy. And men that watch porn, it's gone. It's obliterated, right? They couldn't get turned on naturally if they tried. They think they can, but they can't. So we activate kundalini. Their body starts to move and shake. So they start to convulse like they're falling. It's like an ab convulsing from the belly. And then it starts to pick up in like a quantum wave that moves up through their body. And they shake. It's like an exorcism for a lot of guys. And they yell. They yell, like they release the anger, and they cry. And it's really, really intense. I do call it an exorcism, and I do have a laugh about it, but that's what we're doing. We're releasing this stuff. I have got a video online where you can see the guy actually shaking, and everyone messaged me saying, is he having an orgasm? And I'm like, no, his body, it's energy. Orgasm is energy. Men can have multiple orgasms. They can have an orgasm without ejaculation. They can have full body orgasms. So I teach them all of that stuff as well. And that's how we eradicate porn addiction. So you can do the cerebral cerebral coaching till you're blue in the face, and you can go and have a cold shower or take up a new activity or habit or hobby. It's not going to work because guys, they do NoFap. It's called NoFap online, and it's a billion men all over the world are doing this hashtag movement NoFap, which means they give up masturbation, porn, ejaculation, and orgasm. What they do, though, is they put their brain into scarcity. They don't understand that their brain is more damaged than on heroin. So they're coming off crack and they don't even realize how the body works. So because of the levels of testosterone that have been produced by the porn addiction over the years, it's called hyperfrontality. And it means that they're super sensitive and triggered by sexual things. So the woman at the supermarket, the girl walking around in bathers, right? So even when they stop, they've got this hypo brain that sees everything from Instagram to the girl at the supermarket as a reason to, masturbate and watch porn. So basically they're putting themselves into scarcity and they're throwing the baby out with the bathwater, which is their male sexuality. So everyone says, oh, you're sex negative. I'm not sex negative at all. I teach sex. I teach men how to have sex with women by healing this thing. I don't actually tell men this is how you have sex. I heal this addiction in them and they just have magical experiences with women. I teach them how to connect, to get out of their heads. They get masturbation exercises every single time they come and see me as homework, and we train them to have full body orgasm without ejaculation, and to do the breathing techniques, work with the Kundalini, work with the microcosmic orbit, and learn how to breathe while they're masturbating. They have to masturbate for 10 minutes, then 20 minutes, and then 30 minutes. And it's a training exercise. We have to reconnect male sexuality with masturbation and self-pleasure. And we call it conscious self-pleasure because self-pleasure is vital for the women and the men. You need to be having these at least once a week, be having a beautiful experience with yourself where it's about ritual, it's about organic sexual energy, it's about arousing the senses, it's about clearing the energy that's stuck in the body, all of this stuff. This is how we cure porn addiction. It's pretty amazing.
It's phenomenal. I've got two questions that come to mind. I want to know, are men asking for help? Like, how are they asking for help? Where are they going to?
Okay.
How do they get to you?
Yeah. So they either land on my website, which was all channeled, and I've had website developers look at it and say, oh, you need to take this out. And I'm like, no. That was channeled information. And that's the thing that they message me and they go, it's like you're talking about me. How do you know this stuff, right? And so you normally land on the website, or they see me on Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat or, LinkedIn. And it takes them a while to come in normally. However, I do have an ad up online where I advertise the massage itself, and that's where most of my clients come from. So men like massage. That's it. They read the thing and they see what it's about, and then it just sets off that, like, she knows that what I'm feeling, right? Because I talk about porn addiction in a compassionate way in terms of this is how we fix it. It's not, just put the porn down and stop being, silly and stop being a creepy man. It's not that at all. And they are attracted. So the way what is it that you sell them what they want, but you give them what they need, and that's how you help men.
Wow.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. There's no doubt, and I'm sure, and I want people, whenever you're watching this, there's so many different layers that we can unpack that could be a session in its own right. But I'm mindful. I want to understand, how can we help them? How can we, as the partners, or I won't say, well, yeah, mums, that stat that you pulled out earlier around, the 8 years old, I was like, oh no, what can I do now? What can I do? What can we do?
Okay. So they're going to get my ebook today. Anyone can have that. We'll put the links up. So there's lots of information of what I've covered today in that, just to let it sink in, in your own time. You can share that with your partner. It's a really, really good way. You can not blame me, but use me as a way to open up the conversation. So I saw this chick online today, and she was going on about men's sexual health and stuff. And I got this free ebook. Can I ask you some questions? Okay. And be open. I'm going to give out the guide as well, which is a very in-depth kind of example of how you actually have these conversations. What I see a lot of is men finally telling their partners, because part of one of my programs is they have to tell someone. They often don't tell their partner, they tell a mate, but they have to tell someone. And I've had guys lose $2,000 in my programs because they can't do it. They actually say, I can't do this. This is not what I was expecting. I can't, and they lose their money, right? This is how strong this desire is to keep it quiet. And it's part of the addiction. Keeping it secret feeds into the dopamine, okay? So it's important because these guys are finally telling their women, and the feedback I'm getting from them is that the women freak out. The women get super triggered. They shut down sexually. They shut down their communication, and they get really, really hurt by this. And I totally get that. I totally get it, because I've been there and I felt cheated on. Especially by a husband who wouldn't touch me, but he would go and, I'd find a DVD or something in the thing, and I'm like, what's going on, So it's important that you brace yourself, firstly, protect yourself energetically before you have these conversations with your partner, because if he's not expecting it, and that's never a good idea, it's always a good idea to say to your partner, I just want to talk to you about a couple of things. He'll think he's in trouble, so you've got to make sure you just the sexual stuff. I just want to have a chat to you. Are you open to that? Right? Always open with a question, not the actual conversation itself. Okay, and then you need a yes from him, and then you need a time, and he might want to do it then, and that's fine, right? So you just want to ask him some questions. I do have some intimacy exercises that I help people with where they do this, and they sit down and they have these really awkward, open conversations with each other, because a lot of the men are getting shut down when they do finally open up, and we just don't want that. A lot of women are shut down sexually, and I'm not going to go into that too much today because I don't want to offend or trigger anyone, but women need to do the work around this as well. There are a lot of women who are addicted to porn as well. It's exactly the same. It's a brain addiction. They just don't get erectile dysfunction, but they do lose sensitivity in their genitals. So if you're a woman watching it, you have a porn addiction, okay? Now, if you're both watching it together, then you're enabling each other. And I do treat couples, and there's lots and lots of conversations that we can start. I would suggest that you can just message me. I've got people messaging me all over the world, all the time, giving me their scenarios. What do you suggest I do? And I've got videos, I've got masterclasses on this. I can send you stuff that you can watch with your partner, and then let that start to process and digest and sink in. And it's all for free. I do all of that stuff for free. Then if you want a consultation and you want to spend some time doing the work, and you want the exercises, and you want me to speak to him or, whatever, then obviously you need to engage my services.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, my goodness. There's just so much in that. But the one thing that I really did feel from that, for me personally, is that I understand that it is, without saying this as articulately as you do, Catherine, but I really do now see, like when I look at different men in my life, and I can see, energetically where they sit, and I can just feel, now I'm feeling that, and I understand, and I don't know if they have porn addictions or anything like that, but I can just see that it is an illness. And the fact that you're working to help shift that energy and work with them in that way, and to take what makes someone feel dirty and unworthy, and, to shut away from not only society but themselves, and help them shift that in the way you do, is phenomenal. And there is, like I said, there is just so much that we could honestly explore. And for anyone that's watching this, or it's really, really important with any of these sessions. I say, pay it forward. You just never know who might need to hear this story on this day to get a better insight into someone that we all love, because they're not just partners, they're our babies. And mine's only 4, so you freak me out and I'm like, oh, what can I do?
So with the kids, there's a video I've got there's lots of videos I've done on the kids, and I've done an interview with Holly Martin from Safe for Kids in Perth, so I can give you that interview for everyone to watch, because that's a whole other conversation. But all you need to educate yourself first, then the ripple effect will start to happen. If you know nothing about sexuality, if you're not teaching your kids about bodily functions like orgasm, ejaculation, like my daughter knows all about male sexual health. I've made sure that she knows about circumcision, non-circumcision, what can go wrong, what can feel good. And she's only 13, and I've been talking to her for years. So it's age-appropriate conversations. However, don't just birds and bees kids, right? They know more than we do. Why do you think they ask how a baby's made, right? They're intuitively guided to understand the whole kabang of reproduction on an energetic level, okay? Now, I'll just put on that note, when you said it reminds me of all the guys that you've had like a low vibration kind of with, men that don't watch porn and never have, I've met 22 of them. In my career and in my personal life, there's 22 of them that have never watched porn. They've seen the odd clip that their mates have sent them, but they've never, ever masturbated to it as a regular thing. Those men, as soon as I put my hands on them, like I actually get a bit frightened. When someone says I don't watch porn, I'm like, what about in the past? And they're like, no. And I'm like, whoo, right? Because the energy is off its head, right? They're breaking out in goosebumps. I'm breaking out in goosebumps. They're moving and shaking. Their kundalini activates when I turn around and to put the music on. It's full on. And the good news is the guys that watch porn can get to that, right? The good news is, like, men always say to me, how long does it take to cure porn addiction? And will I ever be the same? And is there long-term damage? There is long-term damage to the brain. But the brain rewires itself. It's called neuroplasticity. The body rewires itself. Orgasms start to return. They get bigger. Erections start coming back. Your body starts to move and shake. If you go without porn for 2 weeks and do the homework that I give you, right? So 2 weeks is how quickly this can turn around. It's really, really good news, because people engage psychologists for years and addiction specialists for years. And if you're not doing the body work, just forget it. That's my advice.
Amazing. Look, you just said it so well then. Educate yourselves. Educate ourselves. That's the same with anything, right? The more we know, knowledge is power. And the more we can empathize and really see it from other people's perspectives. Whew, that has just blown my mind. Hello, Saturday. Now I'm about to go to a kid's playground. Wow. This is interesting. I love it. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much. That was phenomenal. I look forward to seeing some of these questions coming through, and I feel as though there's definitely going to be an opportunity to, do this again and really sort of assist people in another way, because just if anyone's listening to this now, there's just so much to explore, and knowledge is power. So to everyone watching live, thank you so much for showing up. And if you watch the replay and you've got any questions, she is available. There will be links posted, sent out to everyone. Take advantage, have a look, equip yourself with everything that you need. And you know what? That's phenomenal, the work you're doing, and I congratulate you on that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for joining us, everyone, today.
Absolutely.